I want to talk about parenting today, which is kind of funny because if you Google America's Worst Mom, my face shows up. Not once, not twice, but for 22 straight pages. And if that's not humbling enough, right after that comes America's Worst Mother's Day Gift. For the record, guys, we do not want an iron for Mother's Day. And lingerie, that's for Father's Day. Laugher. So, how exactly does someone earn a title like America's Worst Mom? Well, here's what happened. Years ago, my younger son, he was 9 at the time, kept asking if he could do something big and new. He wanted me and my husband to take him someplace in New York City, where we live, and then let him find his own way home by subway. Just him, alone. So my husband and I thought it over. You'll notice he's never called America's Worst Dad, by the way. Interesting, right? Laughter. Anyway, we said yes. And when our son finally walked back into the apartment after that subway ride, you should have seen him. He wasn't just walking, he was levitating. He was that proud. I ended up writing a column about it, why I let my 9-year-old ride the subway alone. 2 days later, my phone was blowing up. Suddenly, I was on the Today Show, Mississippi, NBC, Fox News, NPR, yes, Fox News and NPR in the same week. It was surreal. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, no way would I let my kid do that. And I get it, it's not the choice every parent would make. But I want you to pause for a second and think back to your own childhood. What's something you loved doing? Maybe it was flashlight tag with the neighborhood kids. Maybe it was building a fort in the woods. Maybe it was just riding your bike until the streetlights came on. Now raise your hand, at least in your head, if your mom knew exactly where you were during those adventures. I'm guessing not many hands are up, especially among the older folks here. But ask a younger audience that same question, and more of them raise their hands because that's what's changed. That's what my book Free Range Kids is all about. Over the past generation or two, kids have lost almost all unsupervised time. And don't get me wrong, togetherness is good. Family bonds are important, but too much is making us all a little crazy. Think about this. In 2021, the U.S. Surgeon General released a report showing kids are more depressed and anxious than ever. 2 years later, another report came out, this time about parents. And guess what? We're more depressed and anxious than ever too. Well, no wonder, because we're always with each other. No space, no balance. When I was growing up, childhood was balanced across 3 distinct worlds. There was the kid world, bike rides, secret forts, pickup games in the street. Then there was the adult world, boring stuff like politics, dental procedures, and endless talk about polyps. Seriously, polyps. Laughter. And then there was family world when everyone was together, like at dinner or on vacation. Those 3 worlds kept things in balance. But today, they've all been mashed together, and smartphones made it worse. Because even when kids aren't physically with us, we can still text them, track them, call them, or monitor them on apps. It means there's never really a kid world anymore. That's why I'm here, because restoring that balance isn't as hard as it sounds. It just starts with a little mental reprogramming. We have to recognize that we've been conditioned, brainwashed, really into believing that the second our kids are out of sight, they're in danger. Either from a guy in a white van offering candy, or maybe even scarier from not getting into Harvard. Laughed. The result? We hover. We do things for our kids they could do on their own. And we spend way more time supervising than our own parents ever did. I call it the adult takeover of childhood. And it's everywhere. The University of Michigan did a study recently that proves the point. Parents say they want their kids to have independence, but in practice, most parents with kids between 9 and 11 won't even let them play at the park with a friend. They won't let them walk to a friend's house. And here's the kicker. When parents and kids are in the grocery store together, only half of those parents will allow their kid to go into another aisle. Half. That's a real statistic. So basically, sending your child to get a can of peas is like sending them to war. And it's time to change that. We need to get braver, not brave enough to let our kids fight dragons, but brave enough to let them walk to the park, or at least grab the canned food before their voices change. So, how do we start? How do we peel back this adult takeover of childhood and give kids back the independence they desperately need? Let me start with 2 facts that might surprise you. Fact 1. Your kid is not going to be kidnapped by a stranger. Statistically speaking, if you wanted your child to be snatched off the street by a random stranger, you'd have to leave them outside for, wait for it, 750,000 years. That's how rare at Island. And after the first 100,000 years, they're not even kids anymore. They're dust. Laughed. Fact 2. Kids actually learn more when we aren't around. Let me explain. When adults organize a game for kids, we do what adults do best. We make it efficient. We pick the game. We keep score. We decide if the ball was in or out. And at the end, we hand out trophies because heaven forbid anyone leaves empty-handed. But when kids organize a game by themselves, it's completely different. It's messy, chaotic, sometimes hilarious. They have to figure out what game to play, how to divide up teams so it's fair, how to keep the game going even when there are arguments, because yes, there will be arguments. And in the process, they're practicing life skills, negotiation, compromise, leadership, empathy, communication, the whole package. Here's the magic. If a 12-year-old ends up pitching to a 5-year-old, which would never happen in an adult organized league, what do you think happens? The older kid doesn't throw a fastball. There's no glory in striking out a kindergartner. Instead, he lobs it gently. The little kid taps it with the bat, and suddenly, oh my God, it's a home run. The little one is thrilled, and the older kid, he feels proud too because he's just learned something even more valuable. How to empathize and be generous. That's the ultimate teachable moment. And yet, when we take away those opportunities by hovering, by constantly supervising, we rob kids of that growth. They don't see what they're capable of. And because we don't see it either, both sides end up anxious. Kids feel like they can't handle the world. Parents feel like their kids can't handle the world. And the cycle just keeps spinning. So, what can we do to break it? About 8 years ago, I teamed up with social psychologist Jonathan Haidt and 2 others, and we started a nonprofit with one simple mission: make it easy, normal, and legal for parents to let go and for kids to grow. We called it Let Grow. Why? Because this is a collective problem. If you're the only parent on the block letting your kid walk to school or play at the park, you feel guilty or judged or both. But if everyone is doing it, suddenly it feels normal again. And that's what we're after, changing the culture together. We've come up with 2 school programs, both free, and we've even helped pass a new law. Let's start with the law. It's called the Reasonable Childhood Independence Law. And it basically says that it's not neglect to let your kid do something on their own, like play at the park, walk to a store, or ride their bike to school. Seems obvious, right? But in some places, parents were actually getting investigated for letting their kids do those things. As of last month, this law has passed in 9 states. In Florida, they're voting on it tomorrow. Applaud. Now for the school programs. The first one is simple. We want schools to stay open after hours. Not just for homework, help, chess club, or soccer practice. Those are great, but they're all adult run. We want schools open for free play. Here's how it works. You put out some balls, some chalk, maybe a few cardboard boxes. Kids of all ages mixed together. And yes, there's an adult present, but they're not a referee. They're more like a lifeguard. Someone who only steps in if there's blood or a medical emergency. Otherwise, the kids handle it themselves. And guess what? The kids love it. People assume kids just want to run home and be on their phones. But really, they want to be with each other. They want to laugh, invent games, have little adventures, maybe even flirt a bit. The problem is, if the only place they can do that without constant adult supervision is online, then of course they're glued to their screens. But give them a real-world option, they take it, every time. I've visited these free play clubs, and honestly, they feel like a wildlife sanctuary for childhood. You watch kids being kids in their natural habitat again, and it's beautiful. Laughter. Applause. The second program we run through Let Grow is called the Let Grow Experience, and it's just as simple, but maybe even more powerful. Teachers give kids a homework assignment that says, go home and do something new, on your own, with your parents' permission, but without your parents. That's it. It doesn't matter what the activity island. For some kids, it's walking the dog. For others, it's climbing a tree, making pancakes, or biking to the library. The exact task doesn't matter. What matters is that the child gets to say, I did it myself. Right now, this program is in over 1,000 schools. And let me share one story that stuck with me. There was a boy, about 10 or 11, who decided his Let Grow assignment would be to make dinner for his family. So he went to the store, grabbed all the ingredients, and was feeling pretty confident until he realized he couldn't find the hot sauce. Now, to you and me, that's nothing. But to him, The idea of going up to a clerk, an adult stranger, and asking for help, it was terrifying. He felt so small, so incapable, that he panicked. He abandoned his cart and ran straight out of the store. But then, something amazing happened. He went back in. He found his courage. He asked the clerk. He got the hot sauce. On the surface, it was just an errand. But really? It was a hero's journey. He failed. He retreated. He doubted himself. But then he returned. And he conquered. That tiny moment gave him a new story about himself. I can do hard things. I can do them on my own. I did it myself. Those 4 words are magic. They are childhood's ultimate anxiety buster. Think about the moments you're proudest of your own kids, or grandkids, or students. It's rarely about grades or trophies. It's those moments when they rise to something new, when they clear the dinner table without being asked, when they get lost on vacation but manage to find their own way back, when they take the little cousin outside and make sure she gets a home run. That's when kids feel proud of themselves. That's when we feel proud of them. And that's what real confidence looks like, not the kind we hand them with a "good job, buddy," but the kind they build inside themselves by proving they're capable. And here's the real kicker. The solution to the kid anxiety crisis and the parent anxiety crisis is the same thing. We both need kids to have more independence. We both need to believe in what they can do. So how do we get there? By rebalancing those 3 worlds again. Give kids their world back. Let them play without us watching. Let them solve their own arguments. Let them walk to the store, or ride a bike to a friend's house, or try something new without us hovering, tracking, or texting every 2 minutes. Because when kids see what they can do on their own, their anxiety goes down. When parents see what their kids can do on their own, our anxiety goes down too. In the end, it's about trust. Trusting our kids, trusting ourselves, trusting the world just enough to give them space to grow. And if we can do that, if we can truly let go, then I promise, our kids will be less anxious. They'll be more resilient. They'll feel smarter, stronger, prouder. But not as proud as you will. Thank you. Applause.